Can you come out and get the little... This is Mr. James. There's a photo right here. Yeah. Yeah. You'll just pop up and get that picture. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I got it. I don't know.
Oh, kids, you gotta get ready and have a surgery. You can't lay around because it's
Good evening. We will go ahead and call the Burlington City Council November 5th, 2013 meeting to order. At this time, we'd like to welcome you here. Hopefully you will return. We'd ask that you please turn off all electronic devices at this time. This time we'll call on Councilmember Sue Fawcett for tonight's invocation.
Now let's bow our heads in a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
This time we'd like to recognize Mr. James Harris, if he would come forward, please.
Anyone wants me to come up? I'll come up here with you if you like.
You come with me then. You can stand right there at the podium and I'll give you a chance to say a few words in just a second. We have a proclamation in recognition and appreciation honoring Mr. James Harris. Whereas James Harris has been a loyal and dedicated volunteer with the Burlington Pet Adoption Center for over 5.5 years. Whereas at 82 years of age, he has chosen to dedicate 1 to 2 days every week, totaling well over 100 hours annually, to the health and welfare of the animals and the care of the Burlington Pet Adoption Center. And whereas the time he dedicates to exercising and socializing the animals at the Burlington Pet Adoption Center helps to ease their stress and makes them more appealing to potential adopters, and whereas his dependable nature makes him an invaluable asset to the Burlington Pet Adoption Center, as he always arrives ready to exercise and spend time with the adoptable dogs despite temperature or inclement weather, and whereas he has been knocked down, roughed up, jumped, slobbered on, but always chooses to smile, laugh, and continue being a friend and advocate to the animals of the Burlington Pet Adoption Center, and whereas he asks for nothing, yet gives generously to the Pet Adoption Center. Now therefore, I, Ronnie K. Wall, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Burlington, do hereby deem it an honor and a pleasure to extend this proclamation to Mr. James Harris. The Burlington City Council commends your efforts and services to this community. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much. This is, yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Feel free to speak.
Well, the only thing I would say is this is an unexpected honor, and I appreciate it very much. And I thank the people at the Adoption Center for getting this started, but I thoroughly enjoy working out there and the dogs and so forth, and it keeps me entertained, and I think it's a worthwhile project, you know. So I thoroughly enjoy it, and I appreciate this honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
This time we recognize City Clerk Renee Ward for the ethics disclosing conflict of interest.
Members of council, it's my responsibility to remind you of your duties to avoid conflicts of interest in matters that are before us. At this time, I ask if there are any potential conflicts concerning tonight's agenda items.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes, October 15th, 2013, City Council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Adoption of the agenda.
We adopt the agenda as written. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda. These items are typically non-controversial. If anyone has any questions about the following items, please let us know. Item 1A, to appoint Mr. John McDonald as the joint appointment with the Alamance County, and to reappoint Mr. Samuel Powell and Mr. Glenn Van Fleet to the Burlington Alamance Airport Authority for a 4-year term. B, to approve the final plat of lots 1 and 2, Raw Hut Capital LLC subdivision. Property is located at the northeast intersection of Northbound Highway 62 North and Sharp Road, shown on plans by John A. Edwards and Company, containing 2 lots. C, to approve a final plat of Daniel K. Nelson and wife Denise G. Nelson subdivision. The property is located at the southeast intersection of Park Road and Gillum Road, as shown on plans by Mark E. Myers, land surveyor, dated June 19th, 2013, containing 2 lots. D, to award a contract to Perkin Elmore in the amount of $135,474.75 to purchase an ICP mass spectrometer system utilizing the Piggyback North Carolina General Statute 143-129. E, Budget Amendment 2014-16, fire donation spelled out in your agenda. F, Budget Amendment 2014-17, CDBG reallocation spelled out in your agenda. G, Budget Amendment 2014-19, Melvin L. Hall Fund donation spelled out in your agenda. H, Budget Amendment 2014-20, 2012-2013, projects carried forward, spelled out in your agenda.
We approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? New business. City Council will consider adopting an ordinance requiring the demolition of buildings located at 858 Ross Street, and approve Budget Amendment 2014-18, Public Works Demolition in the amount of $93,840 for demolition cost. That is spelled out in your agenda. This time we recognize Mr. Bateman. Welcome, Mr. Bateman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a matter that's before the council tonight for an order of demolition. I think at the work session you were provided with a photographic slide presentation of the condition of these premises. It's an abandoned rest home currently owned by Daybreak Assisted Living LLC, which is apparently a defunct LLC. Nobody's ever responded to any notices. We have been through the entire process, proper notice being given at all elements of the process. Never had any response from any of the lenders, any of the owners, anyone involved in the property. It is a dangerous condition at the moment, and public safety, in the opinion of staff, requires it to be demolished. I might add, Mr. Mayor, that this afternoon the manager and I received a call from an interested party who represents a group who operates a number of rest homes, who expressed a desire to inspect the premises with the possibility of making an offer to acquire it and rehab it and rehabilitate the property. They apparently had seen press notices or articles in the paper about the project and thought it could be salvaged. If it's the will of the council to allow them to take a look at it, I told them then that the city had no power to deal with the property. We were merely an enforcement agency, but that we could give them the names of the owners and the people who have liens on it, and they could attempt to negotiate a purchase of it and attempt to rehab it. They'd like an opportunity to take a look at it. The manager and I told the gentleman that we would relay this information to the council. In talking to Nolan, it appears that should the council desire to proceed with the ordinance itself and authorize the awarding of a contract for demolition, it could go ahead and do that, but put an effective date on that ordinance for 90 days hence, which would then allow time for somebody to come in and take a look at it, and if they believe that it could be rehabbed, it would be a double plus for the city. We would not have to spend the $90,000 to tear it down, plus restore a use to the property and restore it to the tax books. At the same token, by going ahead and acting on it and receiving the report from Nolan on it and ordering the demolition, but holding it, in effect, holding it in abeyance for 90 days, we won't be faced with having to come back with it unless somebody actually does something to move forward with it.
Mr. Bateman, could it be possible to do that for 60 days? We've all looked at these pictures. Some of us have been out there to take a look at the property. This property's gone through.
It's in a significant state of disrepair.
If anybody wants to do any due diligence, they can certainly have that. They can do that next week.
Yeah. I think that's certainly the council's decision on that, Mr. Huffman. 60 days would certainly give somebody time to determine whether they wanted to proceed. If they needed more time, they can come back to us. Come back to you.
It is a motion to demolish the property, and otherwise, as it's spelled out here, otherwise 60 days hence.
Second.
Anything else, Mr. Bateman?
That's it.
I have one question before we vote. It's not relevant to the vote, but they've not made a site visit at all.
Apparently, they've only seen the photographs of it, but have not made a site visit.
So are you the contact person for
I
this?
think the manager is, Mr. Owen.
Okay, so we'll let them know, assuming that we go forward with this, that they have 60 days to figure out what they're going to do? Is that fair?
Yes.
And everybody, just for clarity, for public clarity, they're not going to be dealing with the city on this property. They're going to be dealing with the lien holders. Is that
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Let me just ask a question or two. As far as the demolition is concerned, I've ridden by there. Asphalt, is it part of the demolition? It's taking it back down to the ground, is it not?
Yeah, but I think the city forces are planning to take up the asphalt, aren't they, Nolan?
Yes, sir, to try to offset some of the costs. Wanted to remind you, there's also approval of budget amendment as part of this item that would be in order as well.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. Got a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Move we adopt the ordinance regarding the special budget or amendment. 214-18 for this purpose also.
For the motion, Dave?
It is.
I'd second that.
Okay, got a motion, a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Brings us to public comment. We have three. First on the agenda is Mr. Alex Alfonso. Mr. Alfonso, welcome. State your name and address, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. My name is Alex Alfonso. I live at 800. I live on the 800 block of High Street here in Burlington. I listened to the candidate debates a couple weeks ago, and I was taken aback that you can actually engage in a dialogue about public transportation. At least three of you up there, and I'm hoping you're as forthcoming here in City Council chambers as you are on stage at the Paramount Theater. Let me start by pointing out some of the more disingenuous comments I heard that night, because the newspaper wasn't doing any fact-checking about any of the veracity of your statements. Mr. Butler, we don't have to wait till the next budget session to make a decision on public transportation. You know who told me that? Mayor Ronnie Wall, after this year's budget session. So I'm hoping you'll give me some clarification on Mr. Wall. Were you just shining me on earlier this year, or Mr. Butler, were you just expressing ignorance about the procedure? But this brings to light another issue here, is that when you talk about due diligence and you know, getting with other cities, you can't even get on the same page when you sit next to each other twice a month. That's laughable, gentlemen. Let's get something done on this. But let me address the common denominator between the three of you that night, and that was funding. All right? But instead of saying, you know, hey, this is how much it's going to cost, let me point out some of the things you do fund this year instead of public transportation. The airport, which spent $3.2 million in federal money to widen the runway for corporate users. Okay, the airport director came in here and told you about Elon students being more comfortable taking their parents' corporate jets to school. That moved you to the tune of $230,000, nearly $250,000. And you can't spend not even that much on public transportation? The Burlington Downtown Corporation, this is basically a PR engine for 4 square blocks of downtown Burlington. They get a special property tax district, right, that garners about $100,000 a year for them. And on top of that, you give them $150,000 this year. That's been going on for the last 4 years. That's more than $500,000 the last 4 years for a private company that employs 2.5 people. This is a company for Burlington. I mean, a public transportation system would literally bring busloads of people to downtown Burlington from all over the county. Wouldn't that be money better well spent? The third thing I want to point out, Indian Valley Golf Course. You spent nearly $800,000 on the golf course last year. $800,000 for people to play golf. This is against public transportation when we're talking about people getting jobs, people having access to health care, a boost in retail sales and commerce. And gentlemen, you sit up there and you talk about due diligence and you talk about decisions that affect people's lives. Is this the kind of thing that you're talking about? I mean, take account of yourselves, gentlemen. Yeah, I've seen you bow your heads and ask for grace and wisdom in governance when you come in here. Where's your grace and your wisdom on this issue? I've got nothing against golf. I've got nothing against downtown Burlington. I got nothing against the airport. But if you can afford to fund all these things I pointed out, what, more than $2 million here? Then how can you cry poverty on public transportation? How is that possible? You don't need a 2% property sales tax or a property tax hike. That's just not true. You can fund this on its own. Some of these programs I pointed out, you could fund public transportation even without the federal money.
30 seconds.
So, and also, you know, no plan is going to be perfect. You talk about, you know, there's a stop here, there's a stop there, and, you know, gaps and this and that. You're not going to get smarter or cheaper about public transportation until we start doing it. There's no perfect plan. There's no perfect plan. Gentlemen, there's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. And we need to see this light in public transportation by doing it, by getting it on the streets, making a decision now before the next budget session. So in 12 to 14 months, we can get people on buses here on the streets in Burlington, getting to work, getting health care, and spending money.
Thank you, Mr. Alfonso.
Thank you.
Next, April Durer. Welcome, Ms. Durer. Please state your name and
Yes, sir.
address, please. Thank you.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor Wall. I'm April Durr with Healthy Alamance, which is at 319 North Graham Hopedale Road in Burlington. Healthy Alamance is a public health nonprofit, and I'm familiar with all of you as well as the great city staff in Burlington. And I'm just here tonight with two brief thank yous that I wanted to give you all. The first one, I wanted to extend a thank you to Amy Nelson and her staff working on the next comprehensive plan. We're really excited when we saw the request for proposals go out that healthy eating, healthy living, and health equity was a part of that, and we're really excited and support that work, and we feel like this is really a step in the right direction to include health with the planning process, and we're really excited that the Community Transformation Grant, we were able to provide some funding to help you all with that process. So we're just hats off to Amy and her staff for that. And secondly, on behalf of Patrick Harmon and FAST and some of the others, I just wanted to thank you all for talking about public transit. I know this is a passionate topic. It's brought up lots of different feelings from lots of different perspectives, but from our perspective, we just want to thank you all for hearing us, for thinking about it, for carefully considering it, and we just hope a decision will be made, and we just thank you for your time on the matter. And as always, we're grateful to work with you all at Parks and Rec and other departments. If there's ever anything we can do at Healthy Alamance, we're glad to be a partner. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Next, Ms. Curry. Welcome, Ms. Curry.
Thank you, Mayor Wall and Council. My name is Emma Curry, and my address is 839 Woodley Avenue, Burlington, North Carolina. This is about public transportation, and I do represent the Burlington Community Work Group. I'd like to start out by telling a story. Once upon a time, there was government of the people, by the people, and for the people, on the federal, state, and local level. Once upon a time, elected officials by popular vote represented, quote unquote, the people and listened to the voice of the people, not just a certain segment of the population. Public transportation is the most discussed, most debated, and most bounced around issue in this city and perhaps this decade. We've listened to Mayor Wall and council members' excuses. For instance, I also was at the debates. I heard more study is needed before approval. Wrong. Jim Butler affirmed studies completed in 2006, 2009, and 2012, but no bus. Also affirmed by Mike Nunn, Transportation Director. Public transportation, another excuse, public transportation is not affordable. Wrong. $1.7 million via number 5307 federal grant funds are available for bus transportation. A shortfall, you say? Proposal for a $5 vehicle registration fee is to be implemented to support funds for public transportation, or I should say, should be implemented to support the shortfall. Action taken to date by council, none. Burlington, another excuse, Burlington needs or wants support from surrounding municipalities. Wrong. The fact is, recently, there has been and is support that's been expressed by the mayor of Graham, the mayor of Gibsonville, the city planning director of Mebane also. The problem, they are waiting on Burlington to make a decision, to make a move regarding this matter. In my effort to get public support, which is what I do, I go around and I talk to many people in our city by way of petition for public transportation, giving them a voice. And just a few cases I would like to mention. It was mentioned to me by a certain laundromat on Graham Hopedale Road that there are people that walk the distance with a heavy load from Apple Street to get to the closest laundromat there to simply be able to wash their clothes. Most of us are blessed to be able to do that at home. I talked to another lady just yesterday. Her car's out of fix. She doesn't have the money to get the repairs done. She had a good job, but because she lost her transportation to the job, she no longer has that job. I talked to a lady that recently moved here from the city of High Point, and she was shocked and amazed that our city, Burlington, does not have public transportation. As most of you know, High Point is a smaller municipality than Burlington. Tracy Salisbury, director of the Open Door Clinic, talks about the large number of people that have appointments to get medical care. And so many call to cancel their appointments. Why? Because they don't have a ride. They can't afford ACTA and a taxi cab to get just simple stuff that we enjoy, medical help. People move here that I've talked to from various states, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Maryland, so many people. The shocking thing to them is the city our size has no public transportation. They have no problems in the big cities. They've moved here by choice. They chose Burlington. Some came back for family issues, but it's a problem that they don't have public transportation. As I said before, smaller cities, municipalities such as High Point, Cary, Hillsborough, this is all a review to you. All these cities have public transportation. We know all the major cities surrounding us in the triad and the triangle, us being in the center, such as Greensboro, Raleigh, Durham, all have public transportation.
Excuse me, Ms. Curry, 30 seconds, please.
All right. How long are you going to deny the citizens of Burlington public transportation? The time is now. No more procrastination. Please listen to the voice of the people. Approve it now.
Thank you, Ms. Curry. That brings us to city council comments. Any comments, council?
I have one, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank Mr. Patterson and the Water and Sewer Department and Mr. Kirkman for the Street Maintenance Department for the 2 breaks that we've had and the speed that they went about fixing those. I think it was a credit to our employees to get out and do that, and so I'd just like to make note of that and appreciate you guys and your department for doing that.
Anything else?
Mayor, I'd like to just bring it to the folks' attention of this town. I'd like to congratulate you. You have been elected first vice president of the North Carolina League of Municipalities. I don't think it got much publicity here in this town. We have not had a mayor or city council person hold office in the league in quite some time. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, you're in line to become the president. I know you are for 2004, 2015, 2014-15 fiscal year for the league. And that will be the first time that Burlington has had a president of the North Carolina League of Municipalities since Mayor Bill Beeman in the mid-1960s, and I want to congratulate you on that, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Just a couple of announcements. The Centennial Mural, History of Burlington's First 100 Years documentary premieres this Thursday, November 7th at 7 p.m. at the Paramount Theater. Tickets are free and can be reserved at 222-8497. Our next city council meeting will be November 19th at 7 p.m. Congratulations to Ms. Renee Ward on her new office as the new district governor for the regional Sertoma group. Thank you. We appreciate you representing the city well. Also, Chief, I received a letter, and I can't remember the circumstances or the individual, the lady who sent the letter, but it was recognizing Tom Meisenbach for his services for some particular event. And I can't remember the details at this point in time, but I remember receiving it. So I apologize for not being able to elaborate, but please do. I thank you. Any other comments from council? If not,
Mr. Mayor, the Paramount tickets are almost sold out or reserved. So if anybody wants tickets, they need to do that tomorrow morning.
Okay. If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh, God. It's box or whatever it is. Funniest damn thing I've ever seen from it. It is. It does. Yeah. It's a funny dog.